I'm Matt Damon, co-founder of Water.org and Water Equity, and this is Action Plan.
I'm not a scientist, but my lay understanding of the science is that the situation is growing more and more urgent.
When you take action, your life gets a meaning. When you get a meaning in life, you become happy.
When people connect, they care.
When you're feeling well and doing well, you have no choice but to be well to the planet.
We are up to the task of managing this crisis.
And it's a mountain we can climb if we climb it together.
If we don't do what science demands, we pass a tipping point, and it's out of our control.
The mission of Water.org is to deliver safe water and sanitation to everybody on planet Earth in our lifetime. The last year was challenging, but one thing that came out through everybody's understanding of COVID-19 was the importance of clean water. It's really the first level of PPE. If you can't wash your hands and keep them clean, then obviously you can't fight this virus. I think the issue of water access is important on Earth Day and every other day. It's unconscionable that in this world we have people living and dying because they lack access to clean water. I mean, imagine if we cured cancer and in 100 years people were still dying of it. You would say that's unthinkable, but that is the situation with clean water. We solved this for ourselves in the West a long time ago. A clean drink of water is only as far as the nearest faucet for us. The water in our toilets is cleaner than the water that many people have access to. So there are solutions in place solutions that are right at our fingertips. It's about engagement, it's about involvement, and that's what I'm optimistic about. We really can solve this in our lifetime. I went on a trip about 15 years ago and was just studying issues of extreme poverty, and I couldn't believe how massive water was. It really undergirded everything, and nobody was talking about it. And it was so foreign to me as a Westerner. You know, it seemed incredible to me that this was killing millions and millions of children, and how kind of unthinkable that was, and yet nobody was really talking about it. So that really got me interested in it, and as I learned more and more about it, I became more and more fascinated with it. It's exceedingly complex, but there are these real solutions that are really exciting because of their potential reach. And so it feels like it's something that's endlessly fascinating to engage with, but also something which you can really move the needle and change people's lives for the better. Well, the climate crisis and the water crisis are related in the sense that the poorest people on the planet are the ones most adversely affected by the climate crisis. And those are the people that we're reaching with these solutions at Water.org. So they're always going to overwhelmingly feel those things more than anybody. And that's really our kind of target group for these interventions. Well, the importance to access to clean water can't really be understated because it's not just your drinking water and your bathing and washing, et cetera, et cetera. It's the impact that it has. There are hundreds of millions of girls around the world who are not in school because they're out collecting water. There are 1 million people who are dying every year because they lack access to clean water. So it's really incalculable when you get into the reach that this issue has and the impact it can have if you can bring somebody safe water, clean water. It's an absolute game changer for them. The first conversation I had about this with somebody whose life was directly affected by it was with this little girl. She was 14, I think, and I waited for her to come home from her school, and we went on a water collection together. I was talking to her, and she was lovely, and as I was kind of pushing her about, like, wait, what are you going to stay in this village? We were in rural Zambia, and she was going, no. When I grow up, I'm going to go to the big city, and I'm going to be a nurse, and I'm going to live in Lusaka. And I was, and she reminded me of the way Ben Affleck and I talked when we were kids. Like, we're going to go to the big city. When we were teenagers, we're like, we're going to New York. We're going to be actors. That great feeling of being that age and having this world of possibility kind of right in front of you. And it wasn't until I left that I realized if somebody hadn't had the foresight to sink a bore well a mile from that kid's house, she would have spent her entire day collecting water. she would have not been in school. She would not have had these dreams and ambitions, and she would not have this beautiful life to look forward to. And so it's in those indirect ways in which lives are absolutely ruined. Even if you get away from the needless suffering and death and kind of the diseases that are so easily cured with clean water, we're not losing our children to diarrhea, right? It's a day away from school, maybe, for us in the West. But that's a reality for people in the developing world. All of this potential that's being lost for people who don't have access. And if you give somebody access, it gives them access to their own dreams and their own potential, and they can go live a wonderful life and contribute to the world and living a life that's a life of fulfillment. Well, what we found is there are hundreds and hundreds of millions of people who just lack access to affordable financing, and actually they can solve their own problem. If we just give the markets a little nudge toward them, they can actually take out and pay off a small loan and solve the problem for themselves forever. I think the most rewarding part of the work is the fact that we've reached 33 million people at this point because of this insight that we had about finance. And when you just meet one of the people whose life is changed by this intervention, it's incredibly gratifying. And so to think about that across 33 million different lives positively affected in this way is really wonderful. I think, like with anything, as you grow older and learn about things and the complexities of certain issues, it lights a fire under you and kind of gets you wanting to take action. And that was kind of the case for me in that issue. Something that I do every day that I think we all can do pretty easily, especially nowadays, is recycle. That's a very small thing and with a very big impact. One word to describe the current state of the planet, I think a fair word would be fragile. And I think that doesn't necessarily have negative connotations. I think that might have positive connotations. It's all about what we do now, and it's about our own engagement. Fragile can mean we all just care a little more and we pay attention and we fix what's wrong and we really go to a new and wonderful place. So I'd say it's an optimistic fragile. I'd say to any young person experiencing anxiety around climate, that's a very normal feeling, and knowledge is power. And the best thing you can do is start reading everything you can, learning what you can, talk to your friends about it, because your engagement is really what's gonna help here. I think it's clear to us that we can't just ignore it. Right? It's not going to get better if we ignore it. So understanding that it's okay to feel anxious, but now we have work to do, and it's a mountain we can climb if we climb it together. Oh man, if I could bring back one extinct animal, I would have to say the dodo bird. How can we not have a dodo bird? What am I hopeful about for the planet? I'm an optimist. I'm a perennial optimist. So I do have a lot of hope for the planet, though I think in terms of the water crisis, there are so many solutions that are in place, right? So for me, it's more about it's like getting out and letting everybody know, look, we have this figured out. We know how to do it, and the benefits of doing it are just absolutely massive. The upside is almost incalculable. It's just a matter of getting on the same page and doing the work. We can do it. You can absolutely go to water.org and make a donation. We've kind of turbocharged this work in the last decade. We reached our first million people in 2012, and now we're at 33 million people, and we're reaching well over a million a quarter. So the issue is not the people, because the poorest people on earth have shown they will take these loans and pay them back. The issue is how fast we can get these loans out, and we can really scale the more support that we have. So your support is critical. A very easy way to help is to go to water.org and make a donation. And we've got a great track record of doing quite a bit with whatever it is you give us. So from the very start to now 33 million people, over 1 million people per quarter now. So we can get people faster the more support that we have.